It's the big story this Thursday. Health Minister Dr. Joe Phaahla says the passing of the NHI bill in the National Council of Provinces is historic. This is after most provinces, barring the Western Cape, voted in favour of the proposed law, which seeks to achieve universal healthcare coverage in South Africa. The next step is that it will head to President Cyril Ramaphosa's desk for consideration. However, there are still some entities within the health fraternity who are against this bill. Let's continue with our reaction this Thursday morning. Bring in Makhubele, who speaks on behalf of 25,000 private and public doctors from the SA Health Professions Collaboration. Also joining us is Dr. Mvuyisi Mzukwa, who's the chairperson of the South African Medical Association. To both our guests, it's lovely to have you on the program. Thanks, and as always, for making time. Dr. Casey, I wonder if I can begin with you. In a statement you've released in reaction to what's taken place in Parliament, you're asking for the President to send this bill back to MPs. Tell us why.
Well, thank you so much. You just mentioned that it's a historic day. It's a historic day indeed, but it's a very sad day that the historic day is not going to achieve what it is supposed to achieve. So the passing of the bill is sad for us because they have not taken the many useful opinions of experts that are in health to make sure that the bill works for us. Now, we must understand, and I'm saying this to you, that everyone to understand, we are not against universal health coverage. We are for universal health coverage. But we are saying that the bill as it stands at the moment, it will not achieve that. So we are asking the President to really take us into confidence, to really be serious about this and take it back to Parliament. Guys, can you take all the opinions of the experts that has been giving us good information to make this 2019 and even before that, to make sure that when it is passed again, it really is a bill that will work for South Africa and its population.
Yeah, and Dr. Mzukwa, this is a sentiment that I think is very reminiscent of what SAMA has come out to say in the past. NHI as a concept, as a principle, is something the association seems to back, but you also have issues with what this bill proposes in its current form.
Yeah, good morning to Ayanda and to your viewers, and thanks for having me. Good morning to Casey. Ayanda, like you've said just now, SAMA is very supportive of the universal health coverage as envisaged by the World Health Organization. But, you know, with the NHI, there are concerns, as you know, that we've raised in the past, we're still raising today, and we're concerned and disappointed that the members of the NCOP could not identify with these challenges that we've pointed out in the past, and we're still pointing out today. Because if you look at this, there are primary concerns, like, for example, it talks about, you know, the fund. Where are you going to generate that fund? Because if you propose a tax, we've got a very small tax base. It's known. And on top of that, we have, a high number of unemployment. But, to make matters worse, this bill is not going to address the issues, that are facing communities on the ground. Issues that are facing communities on the ground are dilapidating hospitals, and the NHI bill is not going to pay for those. The shortages of staff, NHI is not going to hire staff. The leadership and governance, NHI is not going to address leadership and governance. It's only the funding. And that funding, by the way, is only to purchase services from service providers. It's not going to build hospitals. Government has told us now and again that they don't have money. The Minister of Finance told the country there is no money for the NHI in no uncertain terms.
Then you have to ask questions, Casey, around what on earth is happening here. The cynics among us, of course, are pointing to 2024 as being a very important election year. Parliament is a very, it's a hot political space. And no one will, I suppose, blame MPs or politicians for being political in their conduct. But there's so much at stake here that you would hope at the very least, given how important this is, that it will be an apolitical decision that's made in the interest of all stakeholders.
Yeah, you see, that's a problem because, like we're saying, all of us are supporting this, and people have given institutions, bodies like ourselves, we have given good input that would have made the bill workable. So this is all about politics. The NCOP did not make a single adjustment. Can I just point out to you two things? The Department of Health itself had admitted, for instance, Section 33, that it's not workable and that they were going to look at Section 33 and make amendments, which I believe they've made that presentation to the NCOP, but nothing happened. But can you imagine, this bill is all about treatment. The bill supposes to do away with the private medical schemes, and then it will take over. However, the bill itself does not even clearly indicate what kind of treatment it's going to cover, Ayanda. It doesn't tell you what it's going to cover. It's very, 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 very shallow when it comes to that. But yet they are very quick to say medical schemes must all go, but we're not going to tell you exactly what treatment the people that are going to be under the NHI are going to receive. Secondly, if you think about the people in the rural areas that are the most vulnerable in terms of health, people that have to travel 4 hours, 8 hours to go and see a specialist, sometimes a day or even a week to see a specialist, the NHI does not even try to address that. It does not even try to address how we are going to make sure that health practitioners are available for these people. Now, how do you then go ahead and push this bill through the NCOP and Parliament and say, now we have a bill? It's going to be a white elephant in that the bill exists and it's been passed, but it's not doing anything for anybody, including the politicians.
Absolutely. And, it's one thing to provide universal healthcare coverage. It's another to make sure that it's good quality healthcare coverage, Dr. Mzukwa. And I suppose that really is the concern here. Even if we were to push this through, how do we make sure that the quality of healthcare is not compromised?
Well, like Casey have said, Ayanda, if you're talking about quality, you're talking about this being effective, but also it must be person-centered or people-centered. And we must have everything that we need in terms of resources. But if you look at the NHI bill, like Casey was saying, it's a very curative approach. I mean, it does not talk to preventive and promotive aspects of the healthcare. If you look at, for example, the bill, it does not collaborate with other acts in terms of the planning, around town planning and stuff like that, encourage physical activity, schools, physical activity and stuff like that. And, even the outreach programs that they are talking about, there are no specialists, very few of them. They have stopped training registrars who are supposed to be doctors, training for specialists. And, to me, if you don't have the basics, for example, in the Eastern Cape, the villages there have no water for more than 300 years. How are you going to implement NHI that is of good quality when you can't even provide water for villages?
Yeah, absolutely. All very reasonable questions. There's concerns. I mean, Dr. Mzukwa, you touched on the issue of training. People who support this bill point to how the private and the public sector were able to collaborate meaningfully during the COVID-19 pandemic. And even that time has, I think, moments where we could use with a lot of improvement, and I'm putting it very lightly. But Section 33 of this bill, according to some people, makes it really difficult for that collaboration to take place when it comes to training of healthcare professionals, which we know is going to be crucial, KC, if we are able to get this idea of universal healthcare coverage right.
No, absolutely. And hence I spoke about looking at the needs of the people of South Africa and looking at the skills shortage that we currently have. We believe that we can actually still achieve the principles of universal healthcare as it stands at the moment if there was clear and better collaboration between government and the private health sector. And we can still do something now as we speak, and we've suggested this, and we can move towards what we are actually all are looking at. But if you think about it as well, something that we have not yet mentioned that concerns us is that the bill itself seems to give too much power to the centralized power to the minister. And looking at South Africa as it is, we know that many a time where we've had big projects like this, where it is centralized in government, we have had inefficiencies, we have had corruptions, and money that was pumped into those projects never actually reached what it's supposed to reach. So in the back of our mind, we are also worried about how governance of this bill is going to actually work. Why are there no processes that would actually give the benefit of having to look, the benefit of making sure that there are external people looking into this bill to make sure that every money that is pumped into this bill actually reaches the people itself? Why is it so centralized to the minister? Why will the minister, it seems like the minister is going to run this on a day-to-day basis, basically. So we're worried about even corruption. We're worried about governance because mega projects like this in South Africa, as it stands at the moment, have not worked. We don't have check and balances on the bill. That makes us comfortable that we can actually operate this bill effectively, efficiently, without spending too much money on salaries and other issues rather than what it is meant to do.
I'm loath to get into fear-mongering, Dr. Mzukwa, but if the president does adopt this bill and sign it into law, what do you reckon will be the consequences?
Oh, well, I understand there's lots of things that are going to happen, and I think they will happen. The bill will be challenged in the court of law. I'm sure about that because there are so many issues that have been identified and have been raised by stakeholders but have not been addressed by the Parliament and NCOP as well. And I think it would be dangerous for the President to just sign, that bill without really checking. Because you'll recall, even the legal advisors of Parliament have raised some red flags around this bill. So it's not like something, that is being attacked, if you may put it so, by outsiders. It is something that has been raised, even within Parliament. So that's the threat that is, face this NHI bill. But on top of that, I must call that there are so many other legislative changes that must happen, with other acts, to align with the NHI bill. On top of that, we've already having practitioners leaving the country. I heard people saying that practitioners are not leaving the country, and I'm not sure where actually they live, whether they are South Africans or not. But the people are leaving the country because they are uncertain about the future. And it also shows, how, politicians are really not in touch with what's happening on the ground. And it's all a political game to them, but the country is hurting.
Sure. Really important considerations to be made and sobering discussion around this, given what's at stake. Let me thank our guests for their time. Appreciate your insights this morning. KC Makhubele is with the South African Health Professionals Collaboration. Also joining us there is Dr. Mvuyisi Mzukwa with SAMA, the South African Medical Association. There is a lot at stake here, and the reaction because of that will continue, I imagine, much into the day. But for our guests, for you, thanks very much indeed for now.